Hey Indigo, I just got back from the store and look at what I found. It's a pretty sweet old game. Oh hey guys, guess what? I got a new review comment and I just picked it up at the store today. Gadget Twins for the Sega Genesis. Let's check it out. Hello and welcome. My name is Micro and this is Remember the Ages. Let me begin this review show by asking you one question. What do you think of when I say the word shoot 'em up? You're probably thinking something like this, maybe something like that. You didn't think of this one. Basically, a shoot 'em up is a game where players shoot at enemies and dodge attacks. Many forms are like bullet hell games, your vertical shooters. But let's take a look at a game that isn't like your traditional shooter, and that's Gadget Twins.
Gadget Twins was released for the Sega Genesis and MegaDrive in 1992. It was developed by Imagitech Design and published by GameTech, which is mostly known for publishing video game adaptations of game shows in the early 90s, which are really only fun if you're a fan of the show. In the game genre of shoot 'em ups, there is a subgenre that has bright colors, round shapes, and cute characters called cute 'em ups. These games are much more popular in Japan, so we only received a few in the States with this subgenre. The most popular I can think of is the Fantasy Zone series.
Alright, come on, keep running Sonic. Keep going! Jump! 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 There you go! Yeah! Hey guys, yeah, man, this stuff's addicting. Alright, let's get back to Gadget Twins and their little silly gadgets. Let's talk about the story now. And a lot of times with these retro games, there isn't much story to be told. You have a villain named Thump, and he pretty much strolls into the castle, steals the king's magical gem, and jets off, no pun intended. The king realizes that the gem is missing the next morning, orders his two planes, Bop and Bump, to go and retrieve the gem, and off you are on your adventure. Simple, isn't it? Yeah, the game doesn't have much in the storyline, but it makes up for it in other categories.
Let's start by looking at the levels themselves. Imagitech set the atmosphere for the levels perfectly with bright colors and great details. There are a total of 6 levels in the game, each with its own distinct environment. The graphics and artwork are well done and are a good representation of the shoot 'em up genre. Now this game isn't exactly award-winning when it comes to the artwork, but for a shoot 'em up, it's not half bad. My favorite level is by far the 4th one, titled The Submarine Attack. It has a darker tone in comparison to the other levels in the game. Even with the different mood, the stage retains the cute atmosphere of the game rather well. Throughout these colorful and cute levels, there are chests, vases, and various breakable objects that give you power-ups in the game. Typical power-ups include the shield, speed up, slow down, and lives, just to name a few. Scattered throughout the stages are shop entrances, similar to Fantasy Zone. Inside the shops, you're allowed to customize your plane with different weapon choices, and you assign them to one of the 4 attack directions accessed by the B button. As you continue farther in the game, you unlock stronger and more powerful weapons. You will find that some of the weapons can only be placed in certain directions. Like the weight, for example. It can only be placed in the down attack direction, but the punching glove can be placed in the left or right attack directions, while other weapons have different varieties. Obviously, the weapons are not free in the shops and must be purchased with the coins that are collected from defeating enemies. If you miss grabbing the coin right after you defeated the enemy, they will begin to spiral away until they have left the screen, giving you a moment of chance to grab it.
Typically when you die, you lose your weapon, which kind of sucks, but a cool feature in this game is that it allows you to go pick that weapon back up, which is kind of cool, and you gotta be quick about it. Now, what would be a game without some pretty sweet boss battles?
Now each level's boss and mini-boss has a unique attack pattern that you must exploit if you want a chance of coming out of a fight with most of your lives. A word of warning though, the boss fights in level 1 are a little harder because of the limited weapon selection at the start of the game. But really, it's hard for me to gauge how difficult these fights really actually are, being that I played this when I was young and really got good at it. All I can say is, there isn't a unique attack pattern, and like any old school video game, you're gonna have to learn it, and you're gonna die many times. And a lot of those deaths are gonna seem like cheap kills, but we'll talk about that later in this review. How you know you're dealing damage to the boss is when you hit their sweet spot, it will cause them to bump backwards. Look for that when you're trying to deal damage. As a result, their health stars will soon disappear. And like in most shooters, those hitboxes can be pretty small, and this game definitely has them. And winning these fights always feels real good.
Yes!
Now, the music is not an orchestral score by any means, but it is definitely a cute, entertaining, and upbeat rhythm. Hell yeah! Now, you won't find yourself humming these tunes long after you finish playing the game, but they do a great job of keeping you entertained with a funky beat. Gadget Twins is a great game, a lot of fun, with great music, but unfortunately there is one issue with this game, and that's unfortunately in the controls. Now, I'm not saying that the controls are horrible. Rather, they do respond really well, and they are very accurate, much like a shooter needs to be. But unfortunately, the layout is not ideal. With the default controls in place, the A button activates your attack, while the C button allows you to enter shops and exits. Now the B button employs an interesting feature. It chooses what direction your attack will come from. This is both positive and negative. The easiest way to explain this is if I show you by demonstration. The arrow here in your menu bar will show you which way you're going to be attacking, no matter which direction you're facing. Now when you press the B button, it automatically scrolls the arrow in a clockwards direction around your plane. This allows you to activate your different weapons in all 4 different directions. One of the problems you encounter is that you want to switch from your down position to your right position, but unfortunately you can't get to that right position unless you hit the button 3 times to scroll through. Many times you'll find yourself being caught by enemies because you couldn't scroll through to the attack direction you needed most. The positive to this is that the player is allowed to customize their character, personalizing the game experience each time they play. On the other hand, the negative is that you have to scroll through your options to get to the attack selection that you want, and unfortunately it only goes in one direction. Now, does this really ruin the game? Personally, I say no, but it does mean that the learning curve has been set higher. I was hit more times because I forgot what direction I left my attack in and was too lazy to glance up at the status bar to find out which direction it was. My recommendation is, take your time to learn the controls. Once you get them down, for the most part, it becomes much easier to figure out what you're doing.
Gadget Twins is a great game, and I highly recommend that you check this game out. If I had to rate it, I would at least give it an 8 out of 10. It had some great visuals and great music that I loved listening to that kept me entertained and upbeat. Unfortunately, the controls were a little stiff at the beginning, but once you get used to that, they really weren't so bad. And the blinking time was really quick in this game, which led to a lot of deaths. But for me personally, I didn't have an issue with that. So I recommend you check this game out. It's a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it, and I think you will too. All I gotta say is, let's gadget up. Oh. Damn, Indigo. Game Gear just don't get enough respect. What? You're asking why my beard's grown? It's because this damn Game Gear occupied all my time. Shit, lost the ring.